Call our meeting to order tonight. Renata, if you could do the roll call, please.
Gookin,
Here.
Wood,
Here.
McEvers,
Here.
Evans,
Here.
English,
Here.
Miller.
Here.
We could rise for the invocation. We have Pastor Steve Massey from the Hayden Bible Church with us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Let's pray. Oh, Lord, you've given us one of those beautiful, perfect days that we love so much. We thank you for that. Even more so, we're grateful, Lord, for the privilege of living in such a beautiful city that's peaceful and well-ordered, prospering in so many ways. And Lord, these are your good gifts to us. We thank you for them. And they also suggest that you've blessed us with good leadership in our mayor and our city council. We thank you for that. We pray your blessing on their deliberations tonight. Would you give them wisdom, discernment as they make difficult decisions? Lord, would you give them grace and patience in dealing with one another and the residents of this city? And Lord, we just thank you that Councilmember Dan English is here tonight. We pray for his health. We thank you, Lord, for hearing our cry. And we give all of these things to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Dan, if you could lead us in the pledge, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't have any amendments to tonight's agenda, so we will go to public comment. Anyone wishing to give public comments shall have 3 minutes to do so on city business. Anyone wishing to come forward for public comment, please? Come on up.
Thank you. My name is Nick Armbari. I live here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. This Friday, June 4th, is National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and I am here as a volunteer with the Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America to discuss the Wear Orange campaign to honor victims of gun violence and to promote gun safety in our community. The City of Coeur d'Alene has supported this campaign the last 2 years, and because my time is limited, I will provide you a copy of a letter that provides background information and important data. This is a copy of a letter we recently delivered to Mayor Widmeyer. We also want to express our disappointment that our request for the city's support this year was denied by you, Mr. Mayor. When we did not receive a response to our letter, we sent you an email. You responded stating that while we commend your nonpartisan efforts to end gun violence, we also recognize that your national organization was partisan during the 2020 election. In order to maintain the nonpartisan status of the city of Coeur d'Alene, we will need to decline your request. In a follow-up second email explaining that Moms Demand Action endorses candidates who support gun sense policy without regard to political affiliation or political party, our mayor responded in part, I do not see gun violence prevention or awareness as a partisan issue. I do see your national organization as partisan. Feeling that there was common agreement in that this is an important issue for our community and that what we were doing with the Wear Orange campaign is nonpartisan, we called the mayor's office, your office, and asked for a meeting to better discuss our request, clarify issues, and consider ways we could work together. The staff we talked to promised to communicate our request to the mayor, and as of today, we have not had a response. So now I approach you, Mayor Widmore, and the City Council with our request. I realize that this may be the mayor's decision, and you have made a decision. I also realize that the City Council won't be able to take action on this issue tonight. I do want to briefly address the partisan issue. I do want to state clearly that our organization has a political branch which addresses legislative work and advocacy. and a support branch which addresses educational and prevention work, such as the Wear Orange campaign. Moms Demand Action for Gun Violence, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America does have a gun sense voter campaign that identifies and endorses gun sense candidates. In 2020, gun sense candidates ran as Democrats, Republicans, Independents, members of the Green Party, and actually one Libertarian. Our volunteers, just a little bit longer, if
Go
you
ahead.
please. Thank you. Our volunteers who decide to run in an election are free to run with any party that they choose. We take no positions on any issues other than gun sense issues. With that being said, we stand prepared to proceed with our 2021 Wear Orange campaign on our own and to approach you, the mayor, and the city council next year with a willingness to gain your support and work through any concerns you may have.
Thank you for bringing that, and just a couple of comments here is that all the correspondence that I had back to your organization and Alice, I copied the city council on, so they were very well aware of my decision, right? And I made that decision based upon information that I had discovered myself. You're familiar with Shannon Watts.
Yes.
Shannon Watts is the founder of Moms Demand Action. And first of all, I want to say there's nothing wrong with being partisan. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. But the city of Coeur d'Alene is a nonpartisan organization. And she had an interview July 12th of 2020 in Fortune magazine. And you had said that they are nonpartisan and they choose whatever candidates. But in this interview, she stated that we need to flip the Senate, we need to hold the House, we also have to keep flipping the makeup of state legislatures, and we flipped 7 in 2018 and hope to flip more in 2020. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that in that quote, but that quote of the founder of this organization is a very partisan quote. It doesn't say about we're supporting libertarians, Republicans, independents. It specifically says flip the Senate, flip other state legislators. So I just wanted to give you that information on why in the 7.5 years that I've been here, I've really tried very, very hard to make sure the city of Coeur d'Alene was nonpartisan, because that's who we are. When we have candidates that campaign for council this fall, they will campaign that they are nonpartisan. So again, I applaud you for your efforts. Nothing wrong with being partisan, but that's what I based my decision on.
I guess part of my disappointment, if I could just go on, is that there was no ability to have a dialogue about it and to understand your concerns and to provide maybe counters to that, or to say, if we have an agreement about concerns about gun violence in our community, how can we work together? We don't have to take a lead in it. If it's not, if we want to put, if the city has some activities, some ideas, and want to work on gun prevention, we have members who will work with you. But we didn't get that opportunity. And of course, we believe we had such a great event last year with the city's help, and we were hoping and planning on doing it again.
And I had supported it in the past because I deemed your group to be nonpartisan until this came out in July of 2020. And that changed my mind. And I had corresponded back to you. I had given you what my opinion was. You obviously have an opinion. I wasn't going to change yours. You weren't going to change mine. And so that's where we stand.
Could have had a deeper understanding.
And I respect you coming forward and giving that information. I don't know if any members of the council want to add anything there. But again, I totally, everyone opposes gun violence.
Now, on Shannon Watts' comment, and I didn't read the whole article, but there could be a position that when she talked about flipping the Senate, are the different, I can't remember what you were talking about, the Senate
State
or the House.
legislators, he's led.
You know, it could have been flipping two gun sense candidates regardless of their party.
Yeah, well, it looks like, you know, but to me, flip
That's-
means to go to a certain party. But
Yeah.
anyway, I do respect your
Okay, thank you for your
efforts
time.
against gun violence.
And Mr. Mayor, I stand by your decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Norman Leffler. I'm a retired MD urologist, urologic surgeon, and former Air Force doctor for 5 years, a long time ago. Now living in the Landings. I've lived in Kootenai County for 21 years and 8 years in the Landings. I'm here as one person of 1,800 families that live in the Landings, and I've come to ask you all to save us from having a serious car accident, which could happen, and there's already been one accident I know of. And I want to suggest an inexpensive remedy for the problem that I'm going to present about the Landings. In case you don't know it, the Landings are between Atlas, Prairie, Hooter. It's in that area. There's two exits from the Landings, one that lets out on Prairie and one that lets out on Hanley Road, which goes into Atlas. Those are the only two exits at the present time. And the main street there leading to these exits is Carrington Lane, which is the key road, and it goes north-south. And if you look at my first picture here, it mentions Carrington. It's on Prairie Avenue, the second picture. You'll see the exit in the background, and the third, that's an exit coming with two roads going north-south. The other picture, the third one, shows that going out onto Prairie. Now, Carrington lets out, as I say, as the second exit out through Hanley to Atlas. There are 3 lanes on Carrington Road, and this is the point that I want to make. The lanes are north-south, and if you look at picture number 4, you'll see Carrington, I've marked this, as a 4-lane road going north-south into Hanley, but that many times Carrington is only 1 lane. And if you look carefully at the picture, you'll see where I'm saying the problem lies. There are cars parked on each side there, including this big truck that parks there all the time. I've already made efforts. I've talked to the owner of the truck, asked him to move it. He said he would, he never has. Frequently, cars come down through this exit. I've labeled some of the pictures where I've taken them, and I'm a little disorganized on the rest of it, but the point is, if the last 2 pictures, 5 and 6, tell the whole story, and they were taken more recently. And if you look at it, you can see what can happen. There's an accident waiting to happen. Now, how do we solve this? The remedy is simple. They already have bike paths going on Hanley Road and going down on Carrington, but stopping in the residential area. And all I'm asking you to do is extend those bike paths all the way out to the Prairie Road. That way, cars can't park on either side. I'm going to have some of the residents of this Landings not liking this, but cars wouldn't be able to park this way, and thus it'll avoid an accident. That's my whole thing.
Sir, would you mind if we had a member of
I'm
our...
sorry I don't have a map. I should have had a map, and I should have...
No, this-
I've done all of this myself. I've taken the pictures myself. then the
No,
ways
this-
are pretty.
This gives us some good information, but would it be okay if one of our staff members
Yes.
contacted you?
Yes.
And to review this?
I've already tried I've talked to the roads people here, I've talked to the county commissioners, I've talked at our landings board, it's done no good, so yes, I'll be glad to talk to
So if you
anyone.
wouldn't mind, this gentleman right here, Troy, is our city administrator, leave your phone number with him.
Yes.
And we'll get in touch and we'll study this and see what we can do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else wishing to give public comment tonight? Come on up.
I put my name down to speak about the zoning. I might not be here long enough for that, but I think I can probably address it with what I'm going to say here.
Oh, wait, we got rules. They got all kinds of rules. And I just got to make
Can
sure
I-
that we follow them. Is it okay if she just gives public comment on it? Or
It doesn't need to be that. I have a general
just general?
comment. I
You can be
do.
as general as you want to be.
Okay. I've got 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Okay. I don't like public speaking, so I'll try and keep my voice calm. First of all, thank you all so much for the decision you made to keep our waters open along the new area where they're building on the river. I came and spoke on that, and I just thank you so much for allowing public access to that area where they're developing. And that's one of the things that has made Coeur d'Alene, and will continue to make Coeur d'Alene, such a wonderful place to live. As I've been reading, the #1 place to live, here's my concern. And I know this is what we're talking about later with the rezoning, an extra 5 units here, an extra 5 units there. And the fellow who was just speaking, by the way, thank you for your service. Accidents waiting to happen. I know growth is on everyone's mind. It's on my children's mind. They're 13 and 17. They're terrified at what's happening here. They know they're not going to be able to ever live here where they grew up, afford to be here. That many more cars on the road. Rezoning and allowing 5 more here, 10 more there. I just don't think it's what Coeur d'Alene represents, and I don't think that that's what you all want for Coeur d'Alene. And Coeur d'Alene, as it stands right now, doesn't have the infrastructure for all those cars on the road, all those accidents waiting to happen, all the people coming here in droves, probably due to COVID and other political agendas going on throughout our nation. But I beg you to ask yourselves, what type of a city do you want to have? What type of growth do you want to allow? People are coming with no historical knowledge whatsoever of what this town was founded on. I'm looking at this heritage wall, which is just amazingly gorgeous to me, and you're at the precipice of making profound decisions that will affect one of the best places to live. And unfortunately, not everyone can live here. That's just how it is. But maintaining what we have in the smaller numbers is something that is just so vitally important, and you all are at the forefront of keeping Coeur d'Alene great. So when you all talk about growth in the future, please keep that in mind. Please keep our children in mind. It's not just Coeur d'Alene. I know it goes bigger than that. It's global. But please, please keep that in mind when we talk about growth. And again, I don't like public speaking, so I'm going to stop now. And thank you all for your service.
You did a great job.
And
Sorry, ma'am, I'll need your name for the record, please.
Gabrielle Minor. Gabrielle. Last name M-I-N-E-R.
Can I refer her to the website on the regional partnership?
Oh,
Excuse me. Just as a point of information that you might be interested in, if you go to kmpo.net, go over to featured programs and drop down to working groups, you'll see work that's been going on by a regional housing and growth partnership and a bunch of frequently asked questions. And if you have a question or something that you think needs to be included there, there's contact information, but it's a wealth of information. It's ongoing work. And so that can tell you what some folks in the region are working on.
KNBO.
Kootenai Metropolitan Planning Organization.net. KMPO, yeah.
Thank you. Come on up.
Thank you. I hadn't planned on speaking to the council at this time. I had hoped in 2 weeks to do so as well, to wait and see as to what will occur on June 5th, and also to support my friend Alice, who I know to be, and her husband Nick, to be fearless advocates for gun safety. I am the outreach coordinator for the North Idaho Pride Alliance. It would have been on the 5th that the Pride in the Park would have occurred. We did different things, and I think that's great, but we do have Pride events happening on the 5th. I was impacted, along with others, on the fact that there is a so-called gun delaying occurring. I guess pose fear or not feeling safe. I had to alert an organizer for the Pride Cruise. I'm sorry, we would like not to provide too many details because it was meant to be. They were concerned that if there was any sort of possible interaction, that something not positive could happen, and even on their own side. So arrangements were made to avoid that. I personally am having an event, out in downtown. I'm not the slightest concern personally, but then I have to field questions and comments saying, I do not feel safe. I do not feel safe going downtown. And the truth of the matter, the images of guns on our street does impact the sense of safety and belonging. And I do know that there are people, even still, I don't know why, but they still feel some sort of trauma from that time. So while I understand what you're saying about the partisan position, I do define partisanship as supporting any sort of candidate for office in specific, as opposed to nonpartisan, which can take positions on issues. So gun safety, gun prevention. We did have someone yesterday, a teen, who did die from that was at least shot from gun violence, as I saw. So what type of message can we do? If it's not getting behind a certain organization, what can we do to support gun safety or prevention, or at least the death, and to support that while we're having this message happening in our streets, and another group of people who just want to celebrate Pride, who now know that perhaps the first Saturday of June is reclaimed for something else. So I ask of you to think, what can I do as leaders to show integrity and strength and caring of the well-being of all our citizens? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'd also need your name for the public record.
Jessica Meharan.
Mr. Mayor? Can we-
Yes, Christine.
Jessica, you don't have to come back up. I'm just gonna comment. Well, first of all, I'm glad that your group is going to reschedule and certainly have an event. I guess what I would ask you to do is kind of look way back into the past, because there's been a lot of groups that have had opposing ideas. And sometimes those ideas could be a little frightening. And I'm talking about the parades that came through town of the Aryan nations. So what other groups did, they didn't come down and they didn't share the same space, because that just wasn't good strategy. And it was almost as if you were looking for some kind of a conflict, and that was not the mission. So what they did instead, and I'm talking specifically about the Task Force on Human Relations, is they had their own event in a different location, and their message still carried. And more people came to their event. So I'm glad you're rescheduling it, at least that you're going to do it. Next year, I would encourage you to have it on the day you always have it in another location where you feel comfortable. The city's big enough for all of us, and the council is not ever going to take a position where we would go against people's constitutional rights to hold an event. We're going to celebrate your message, but we're also not going to take away the ability for other people's message, no matter how we might not agree with it.
I hear what you're saying, and I completely agree, and that's why the event that we're going to have, tie-dye party, we're just going to have a lot of fun, and I agree with that. You got to put that out, and I don't want to say anything disparaging to the organizers of gun delaying. It's just, please, thank you very much for your time, and And Pride in the Park did not happen, honestly, because of COVID more than anything else. And we rearranged in a different way. It was an organizer of a Pride event from Spokane. That's what their concerns were, and me having to facilitate their concerns. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to give public comment tonight? Okay, no one else wishing to give public comment. We'll move on to announcements. Any member of the council have an announcement tonight? Dan?
Well, sure. I'll acknowledge, I appreciate the council. I mean, was gone most of last month. Being in the hospital wouldn't be my first choice on the way to have some time off, but if I had to be in a hospital, Kootenai Health is a place to be. But I'm back. I'm in good shape. I'm all fired up and ready to go, and I appreciate your filling in and your kind comments in public, too, so thank you.
Nice to have you back.
Sure.
Yeah.
How was the food?
I get all my takeout at Kootenai Health.
Oh, that's right.
Anyone else? Woody?
Just a quick one. Want to welcome back Andy Finney's in the booth, kind of like old times hearing his voice again. Welcome back, Andy. Thanks for helping us out through this. Appreciate it.
Right. Thank you. Yes, Kiki.
You know, I've always got something. A few things. One is the library trustees took a field trip to the schools to check out the satellite libraries situation. They're going to be discussing that at their board meeting coming up this next week, so I'll let you know how that's going. But it was very nice to see, regardless of what happens, the school district staff and the trustees just really working together and communicating well on positive things for the community. So that was really nice. I wanted to let you know two quick things. I emceed the Idaho Drug for Youth lip sync battle, and they hit their goal, just in case people wanted to know. I know some people were robbed. You may have heard that, but it was a really fun event. And I'm also emceeing Safe Passage's Violence Prevention Breakfast. That's this coming Thursday morning at 7:30. And if you can't make it to that breakfast, you can donate at safepassageid.org. And the last thing is a quick update on the Regional Housing and Growth Issues Partnership. Through this partnership and just ongoing conversations, it was learned that Post Falls was looking at doing a housing assessment, and that there was two other groups that were part of the partnership advisory committee that were also looking at funding a housing assessment. So the groups all agreed, the working groups all agreed they didn't want to duplicate those efforts, so they're letting the Panhandle Area Housing Alliance and the Economic Development Council put together a housing assessment through University of Idaho, which should be coming. I don't know all the details to that yet. I just wanted to let you know that it's coming together, and what they'll be doing, what they'll be asking, and what the deliverables in that will be coming out in the next few months. So there's a lot of people really working hard on some solutions and recommendations coming out of that. There's been more people joining the advisory group, and reminding again, as I did to Gabrielle, it's KMPO.net, and that's just the group that is housing the information for this group for us. This isn't a funded program, so there isn't a separate website or a separate ability to have any paid staff manage Facebook pages. So as volunteers, KMPO is housing all of the information, the last meetings, the YouTube links, all of the advisory partners, all the working partners, all the agendas, and a huge FAQ list. So please, everyone, that is on everyone's mind, so all the information's there, and trying to keep it as current as possible. Sorry, long announcement. Apologize.
Thank you. Any other comment? Move on to consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for approval of consent calendar as presented, including Resolution 21033.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Hi.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yep.
English.
Yes.
Motion carried. Move on to other business. This is resolution number 21-034. Approve an agreement with Welsh Comer for construction phase services for the La Crosse Avenue improvements. Chris Bosely.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for having me before you today. It's nice to see you all together up there again. It draws my focus to one spot instead of looking around the room while I speak. If you don't mind, I was kind of going to roll both my presentations into one because it would just be going out through it again, and I'll just leave the motions for the end of that. This is a project we're all very familiar with, so I recycled some of my old slides to let people at home know what's going on here, but this is the La Crosse Avenue Extension Project that was originally conceived in the Four Corners BLM corridor plan. And here's La Crosse right here with Northwest Boulevard and coming into a parking lot. And then later on, within the last couple years, we had a traffic study done for the Atlas Mill site. And in that, it recommended this connection of La Crosse into Riverstone to help ease traffic out there. So now, with $1.8 million of Ignite money, we are able to move forward with this project and finish the design, get it out to bid. And just to orient everyone, here is La Crosse. This is the existing La Crosse right here at Northwest Boulevard, and it will connect into what is labeled La Crosse here because there's a little stub of it left from the developer who put in Union Drive and connected it to Lakewood Drive right here. So if you also remember, recently I came to you for approval on a couple other agreements. One was this sewer line running through the Bureau of Land Management property. We got an easement or a right-of-way to put that sewer through there. That sewer would be feeding all these homes on La Crosse as well as this future development here that's owned by Active West. And then along with that, we made an agreement with Active West to sell them some dirt that we're going to have to remove from our site and put it on theirs over here. So both of those agreements have been approved previously, but I just wanted to give you an update on that because this money is in the budget as well. And then lastly, because we get some comments about this from time to time about what to do with this diagonal crosswalk here on BB Boulevard for the Centennial Trail. That is going to be in this project to straighten that up and go straight across BB Boulevard right there. We're still waiting to see exactly what the Bear Waterfront development that is going to occur on this side of BB Boulevard is going to look like, so we can make sure we get that lined up correctly, but that is in the plan. So here's a breakdown of the costs. We had this $119,000 thereabouts from Active West. That's for selling them the dirt and putting in some water and sewer. And then we've got water and sewer funding, and then our $1.8 million from Ignite, as well as some stormwater funding. With that, we've got a 10% contingency left over at the end of the project in case we come with any change orders or unknowns out there that we run into. So with that, I've got two requests for you tonight. One is to approve Amendment 1 with Welch Comer Engineers with their contract to provide construction phase services during construction. So they'd be the ones out there doing the inspections and the testing and all that, watching over the contractor. And then my second request is to approve the award of contract to La Riviere Incorporated for these improvements. We had two bidders on the project. Apollo was the second bidder, but they were much higher than La Riviere. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
Council questions for Chris? Woody?
Chris, so you've settled all the frontage folks, those kind of little land parts along La Crosse. There was a hang-up on hooking them up to sewer, who was going to pay. How did that work out?
The water and sewer departments have both agreed to go ahead and put their water and sewer in because that's going to provide them the potential for picking up those customers, because those lots along La Crosse right now are on septic systems, and so they'll need to hook up to sewer, and then the water will just help everybody down there. And we need the water also to irrigate the fields, I guess, once we're done with this project. I forgot to mention that with the award, we're awarding the base bid plus alternates 1 and 3, which is essentially the entire project minus the bathroom facility that's down there, because our Parks Department is not really excited about maintaining another bathroom right now, especially because we've just had 2 vandalized in the last couple weeks.
So the laterals are going to be put in?
Yes.
Okay, and those will be paid back by the developer once they develop those lots?
Correct.
Okay. The other thing is a parking lot? Is that going to, part of this project?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Chris, you probably can't answer this, well, you can't answer the second one. I'll give you the first one. Ignite is paying for this, right?
Correct.
Now, Ignite goes away at the end of the year. So
30th.
what happens?
Well, not all of Ignite. The Lake District, yes.
The Lake District, which is where the funding comes.
Yes.
So if something happens to this project and they're not able to complete it this year, we're left holding the bag.
No, we have spoke with legal staff, and maybe Mike can help us with this conversation also, but we were worried about that because one of our tightest timelines is getting signal equipment in, and just in the case that we can't get that signal equipment in, we were told that Ignite can give us the money ahead of time, and then we can pay it when that time comes. They did a similar thing with the Celtice project. When they finished that, they didn't want to be left holding the money. There was only like $5,000 worth of retainage for the contractor once he finished seeding and established the grass. And so they just gave us that to pay them afterwards to take them out of it.
I might add, and I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that any activity that is started in this fiscal year for Ignite, even if it goes into the following year, into 2022, it can be completed.
Okay, well, I just don't want us holding the bag,
Yeah,
that's all.
So Mike,
Right.
maybe you could verify.
Yeah, I mean, it's their contractual obligation that they have to honor, and so as long as the money is there set aside, they would be obligated to continue and make the payments or see that the obligation is fulfilled.
Okay. Well, I know that they have the ability to bond, and they can still pay the bond back after the district fades. So if that's along the same lines, then I'm good. I just, again, I don't want you coming to us, in January and saying, well, the project that didn't, because of the tornado or Godzilla or whatever, now we got to come up with a couple $1 million. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen.
I don't want to come to you for that reason either.
And then just as, that's my understanding too from Ignite meetings, is that even if the district ends at a point certain, if they encumber the funds, because Ignite is still going to be there, but they basically have a lien on those funds for that, so if it ran out longer, I don't think Dan will have to worry about it.
Godzilla.
Any other questions from council? Christie?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to make a motion. We've spent quite a bit of time on this previously, so I'm comfortable with it, although I did enjoy the Godzilla remark.
Gotta be thinking.
I know. I'm going to make a motion to approve Resolution 21-034, approving an agreement with Welch Comer for construction phase services for La Crosse Avert improvements.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Okay.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried. Do you want to take the second part of that as well?
I'll do that. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution number 21-035, approving a contract, okay, to La Riviere Incorporated for construction of the La Crosse area improvements.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Chris, I did have one question. If you could go back to that financial slide.
Yep.
So the contingency of 137.56, let's just say you don't spend this, and this is just kind of a little petty here, but how do you allocate the money back? So everyone's going to contribute that money, but you have 137.56. So we want Ignite to pay the $1.8 million, but how do you allocate out? So there's sewer, water, stormwater, and then if you don't spend that, you have 130,000 left over, right?
Right.
So how do you get together and you flip a coin with Terry and?
Plan on changing.
They'll find a way to spend it.
That's a great question. I'm sure we could find a way to spend that
Absolutely.
$130,000.
It's government.
Okay.
It would be a good problem to have, I
Okay.
guess.
Planter
All right.
boxes,
I'll leave
something,
you to solve
art.
that. Troy will solve it. Yeah, there we go. All right, so roll call, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yep.
English.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Move on to resolution number 21-036, approval of a lease of city-controlled parking spaces to the Chamber on 3rd and 4th of July to generate revenue to help pay for the fireworks. Troy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First day of June, and we are looking to the 4th of July. We have a multi-year partnership that we've done with the Coeur d'Alene Regional Chamber. I have in attendance tonight Daryl Hartwick, the President and CEO. The proposal this year looks very much like it did prior to COVID, except that we're proposing to add 3 parking lots on Saturday. That would be Memorial Field, Independence Point, and Museum. The park is going to contain a number of rides for our little people, or people much smaller than me, however we want to look at that, to go do those rides. And so this would help with the costs. This year's been a challenging year, and staffing is one of the issues. And so one of the big partnerships in this is finding flaggers. This report speaks to at least 20 flaggers. We'd like to push that to 32. And with good weather, the chamber would be a partner in hiring those part-time folks. 4th of July occurs on a Sunday. That it would be more money for that as well. And you know that we are coming off the week before of an Ironman, and the week before that will be Coeur d'Alene. So we have them back to back to back at the end of June going into July. So again, the chamber pulls all of this together. They take care of the parade. This is one of the major ways in which the fireworks are paid for, and the goal is not to have it dip into the chamber's revenues. The parking fund is a standalone fund. Your parking commissioners have approved this concept year over year, and in so doing, the parking fund still receives $9 per car space that's rented. Diamond oversees the management of those lots on the proposed 2 days. The parking lots on Saturday will be at their normal rates for those that are not leased by the chamber. We bring this to you because it doesn't really fit into our normal fee schedule, and it's not something that we often do with our parking lots. So again, I would entertain any questions you might have. Memorial Field, Independence Point, and Museum is about 442 spaces, so it'd be about, if all of them sell out on that day and there's no turnover, it's a little over $8,000. And then we approximately have 1,520 car parks in the rest of the lots on Sunday. The chamber will allow us to have space at Independence Point where you will see a police command trailer down there for its location, and it's highly probable that if we need space over in front of City Hall, we'll have that as well. Human Rights Educational Institute also opens up their building, the building that they lease from the city, for police officers or public safety personnel down there as well.
All right, questions for Troy of council on this?
Well, just so, will the rides for the kids in the park, is that both Saturday and Sunday? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And how tall do you have to be?
I'm not sure on the exact height, but shorter than me, for
right.
sure.
All right, if we don't have any more questions, we're looking for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for approval of Resolution 21036, approving the lease of city-controlled parking spaces to the chamber on the 3rd and 4th of July to generate revenue to help pay for the cost of the community fireworks display.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes,
could
Christie?
just, I'd like to say hi to Daryl. I think he's out there. Hi, I had a great meeting with him a few weeks ago. Some of the rest of you did too. And you're working really hard on the 4th, and so we're excited to help with this.
All right, roll call, please. Renata?
Miller,
Aye.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin, English,
Yes?
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Troy. Move on to resolution number 21-037. This is an approval of amendment to the agreement with St. Vincent de Paul of North Idaho for emergency homeless sheltering to extend the agreement and reduce the dollar amount and enter into a new agreement using a portion of the remaining funds for an entry door project through CDBG CV funds. Chelsea.
Good evening.
Hello there.
So tonight's decision point is, should City Council direct staff to prepare an agreement amendment with St. Vincent de Paul of North Idaho for emergency sheltering for homeless persons using CDBG CV funds by extending the agreement dates and reducing the allocation to $5,000, and to enter into a new agreement for $10,507 to support their entry door replacement project under a new agreement using CDBG CV funds already allocated to the organization. Sorry, I'm having terrible allergies. So the city entered into an agreement with St. Vincent de Paul in the amount of $24,000 to support sheltering homeless persons affected by COVID-19 pursuant to council action on October 20th, 2020. The agreement expired April 30th, 2021, and to date, only $1,980 of the funds have been used. So St. Vincent de Paul's Executive Director, Larry Riley, requested reducing the amount to $5,000 for emergency sheltering through December 31st, and then funding their entry door project in the amount of $10,507. During our 2020 regular CDBG Community Opportunity Fund grant application process, St. Vincent de Paul applied for funding to replace their entry doors. So they're magnetic locking doors that the employees can control who comes in and out of the doors, so they can ensure social distancing protocols and proper cleaning in between people to prevent the spread of COVID. The total cost of the project came in at $13,385, and they got IHFA to commit to contributing $2,878 of their CV funds, which is 21% of the total project cost. So the balance is $10,507 is needed to complete the project. So this is kind of just the breakdown for you to see it visually. They originally got $24,000 allocated to them for the sheltering. They've only used $1,951 to date. Their entry door project, what they're asking for is $10,507, and then to keep $5,000 in the fund for sheltering. So a total of $17,458.80. So that means the $6,541.20 would go back into the COVID fund for other projects to be used. So it would extend the agreement that exists already to December 31st of 2021 and reduce the allocation to $5,000 for that sheltering, and then it would partially fund the entry door project, and then return the $6,541 to the CARES Act funds, which has around $66,000 in it right now, so it would bring it up to $72,541. So both funding requests fall under the CDBG National Objective Benefit to low and moderate income persons and meet the requirements for the CDBG CV funds to prepare, prevent, or respond to coronavirus. So our decision point and recommendation is City Council should direct staff to prepare an agreement amendment with St. Vincent de Paul of North Idaho to allocate $5,000 for homeless sheltering through December 31st, 2021, and enter into a new agreement for $10,507 to support the entry door project using CDBG CV funds.
All right. council questions for Chelsea. Woody?
Just a comment. I was on that committee when they were trying to get this money for this door thing, and there was a bunch of new people that were asking for CVG money that went directly to help people. So we couldn't quite fund that door project. And I thought Larry did a pretty good job of figuring it out and bringing it back around and making it work. And so we still have money in the fund and the project gets done. So,
Christie.
food for thought.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, Chelsea, I had just a question as to, there's still money in the fund, so we could allocate and pay for the doors without really tapping into the homeless money. We could leave that money in place.
We could, yes.
I guess my
There just
concern-
hasn't been a big need as much as they anticipated when COVID first hit. So he was kind of asking to adjust it.
I understand that. Do the funds absolutely have to be COVID-related? If someone's looking for emergency shelter, it's because they've been exposed to COVID?
Yes.
Okay. So with the vaccinations and everything that we're undergoing, that's going to keep going down probably?
Yes, and over the past year, they only housed 4 homeless people, so in a year. So we were kind of thinking, like, even in the fall, if something happens, it would help with a couple of people.
Okay.
And leave a little cushion there.
Thank you.
But leave the other money to go back to something else.
And I think, Christie, that money goes back into that COVID pot of funds that if there was some type of emergency, they could come back again.
Right.
There's still that.
Okay.
The fund, as I understand, will go from 66, they're giving back approximately 6. So that fund will be going up to 72. So they'll still have that opportunity if something happens.
Exactly.
I guess my concern was I did refer a woman to your office that was living out of her car, and I think that was a COVID-related. I just want to make sure that we're able to care for these people still. But it sounds like it has to be very, very specific, and
It's
so.
pretty specific, so maybe there might be an opportunity, though, to make that a little more loose and because this was specifically for sheltering them in a hotel to isolate them. And so if they don't necessarily want to participate in that or follow the rules too, that's a problem also. So that was one of the issues.
Okay, thank you.
Dan?
Well, just, the project makes sense, and 13,000 something, isn't a ton of money, but I'm wondering who IHFA is, who's giving up about $2,800 of their money.
It's the Idaho Housing and Finance.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the state.
So
they
is that
have
like a
COVID funds
separate, a
also.
grant that they're
Yeah,
pitching
so
in,
they're
or-
getting a separate grant from them,
Oh.
and then our grant combined
Okay,
will
okay.
complete the project.
All right. Any other questions from council? If not, we'd be looking for council action.
I'll move to approve Resolution 21037, approving an amendment to the agreement with St. Vincent de Paul of North Idaho for emergency homeless sheltering to extend the agreement and reduce the dollar amount, and to enter a new agreement using a portion of the remaining funds for an entry door project through CDGBCV funds.
Second. Oh.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
McEvers?
Oh, yeah.
Gookin?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Chelsea. We will now move on to we have 2 public hearings tonight. This first one is a quasi-judicial public hearing, and this is ZC-2-21, a proposed zone change from R12 to R17 located at 3135 Fruitland. The applicant is George Hughes. Any member of the council have a conflict tonight? Seeing no conflicts, we will move on to the staff report. Mike Behary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the public hearing for item ZZ-2-21, application by George Hughes, represented by Dobler Engineering, requesting a zone change from R12 to R17 zoning district. Property is located at 3135 North Fruitland Lane. Legal notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on May 15th, 2021, and all other legal notifications have been made. Here's a location map showing where the property is located. This is Interstate 90. This is Highway 95. This is a commercial outlet center with where the Harbor Freight's located. Here's a bird's eye or close-up aerial photograph of the property. The property is currently vacant. And here's a bird's eye view looking north. You can see it's surrounded by multifamily to the north, to the south, and partially to the west, and the commercial property located to the east. There are 4 findings that must be met in order for a zone change to be approved. Finding B8 through B11. The first finding is B8, that this proposal is or is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan indicates this in the Fruitland area, and it's located in the transition area. And transition areas are where the characters of the neighborhoods is in transition and should be developed with care. The street network, the number of building lots, and general land uses are expected to change greatly within the planning period. The comprehensive plan indicates that this area is envisioned as a commercial corridor with adjacent multifamily uses and will maintain a mix of the housing types that currently exist. Single and multifamily housing should be located adjacent to compatible uses. Pedestrian and bicycle connections are encouraged. This slide represents comprehensive plan goals and objectives as it relates to this zone change request, items such as community design, capital improvements, and city services. See page 5 and 6 of the staff report for the full list of the comp plan goals and objectives. Finding B9, that the public facilities and utilities are or are not available and adequate for the proposed use. This application has been routed through the city departments for their review, and each department has indicated that there are adequate public facilities and public utilities available to serve the proposed request. To see staff's full comments, look at page 6 and 7 of the staff report. The next finding is B10, that the physical characteristics of the site do or do not make it suitable for the request at this time. The site is generally flat with a slight drop in elevation towards the east part of the property. There are no topographical or physical constraints that would make the subject property unsuitable to change the zoning from R12 to R17. Here's a topographic map illustrating the topography. As you can see, it's relatively flat in this area. The next 5 slides are site photos. This is standing across Fruitland looking west toward the property. This is on the southeast part, looking north along Fruitland. This is on the northeast part, looking west. This is on the center of the property, looking west. And this is on the center of the property, looking northwest. The next finding is finding B11, that the proposal would or would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. City engineer has reviewed this application, has indicated the maximum increase in traffic anticipated for the proposed use would be not significant, and adding only 3 to 4 trips per peak hours trips. Here's a zoning map illustrating the surrounding zoning. To the north is the R17, to the south we have R12, and to the east C17. The proposed R17 zoning district is intended as a medium to high density residential district that permits a mix of housing types. Permits single family, duplex, and multifamily housing. This district is for the established in those areas of this that are not suitable for lower density residential due to the proximity to more intense types of land uses. Here's a list of the principal uses that are permitted in the R17 zoning district. You can see single families permitted, duplex housing, also multifamily. The R17 zoning district information, the full list is on page 14 and 15 of the staff report. And here's the land use map indicating the surrounding land use. You can see it's surrounded by multifamily on the north, west, and south, and a commercial property to the east. As you can see, this property in this area has been in transition. There's multiple zone changes from the 80s, 90s, and currently. So it's definitely in transition. And the decision point tonight is to provide a decision regarding the proposed zone change from R12 to R17 on approximately 0.346 acres. You'll need to consider this request and make appropriate findings to approve, deny, or deny without prejudice. And that concludes my presentation.
Council questions for Mike? Woody?
Mike, could you go back to the zoning map? So the R17 to the north there, the difference between that, the yellow, of course, and the green is, what's the major difference when we just look at it that way? What's been there in R17 and what's below in R12?
Well, in R12, you're allowed single-family and duplex housing, but for this instance, we have to go to the zone change map to see exactly what happened. So if you go to the zone change, sorry, there was a special use approved down here for multifamily housing that surrounds it. So in 1986, a special use permit was approved in conjunction with zoning to allow this facility here. So it is surrounded by multifamily based on the special use permit.
And that's the same with the R17 above it, to the north of it, correct?
The R17 is
That was it?
multifamily as well, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other council questions for Mike? All right, don't see any right now. Maybe have some later. So now we will open up the public comment portion of this and allow the applicant, if the applicant wishes to come up and testify. Gordon, you want to have anything to say to us?
So much to talk about. Can do.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Do you need my name and an address? Oh, well, Gordon Dobler, there.
There you go.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the commission. Council, rather. So this is actually pretty straightforward. As you've seen, it's R12, but it's surrounded by multifamily. It's got C17 across the street. Really by right, he could probably put a duplex on this third of an acre. So the rezone, in effect, really the net effect is to probably get 2 more units on the property, realistically. Again, every city is struggling with providing affordable housing to their residents, and this is an opportunity to do it, and it fits with the multifamily and the C17 surrounding it. It's, the impacts are minimal because of, again, it's such a third of an acre. You're not talking about a huge density increase or a net effect. It's just realistically probably two additional doors and a fourplex as opposed to a duplex. Just an opportunity to build a little bit more efficiently and provide affordable housing. It's pretty much the summary.
Any questions for Gordon Woody?
So we're not going to see high-rise or intense apartment buildings like
You couldn't physically put it on there because of the size of the lot. The issue becomes parking. Even if you could put a structure on there, you have to park all those units, and on a third of an acre, you couldn't park them.
Okay.
I mean, it'll be tight to park a fourplex on there.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Kiki?
Gordon, you might know, I'm going as fast as I can back through your report, but this was noticed to all of the neighbors.
Yes.
And was there any objections from any neighbors surrounding this property?
I didn't receive any from staff, and they'll send us whatever comments they have.
That was in Mike's report. I just glossed over that. So there was no opposition from anybody surrounding the actual property?
There was no submission of written comments in opposition.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Gordon? All right, thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Any other public testimony? We had Gabrielle Miner, who had talked to us before, is on the list, and just for the record, she is opposed to the rezone. So if there aren't any other members of the public for comment, we will close the public comment portion of that and look for council action. Or inaction.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to make the motion. Before I do, I'll speak to it. I do think that even though we heard from Ms. Miner that plug in 5 houses here or 6 houses here, that eventually it'll be too much. I don't think in this area that's the case. You've got a commercial, huge commercial thing right in front of it, and it is an area for affordable housing, and certainly we are struggling to keep up with that. So I also am very, I guess, very strong about property rights, and when someone comes forward with a very clean proposal, they've done their homework, they aren't looking to build a high-rise that's going to be too much for the city to handle. It's really just, we're talking about a fourplex. I think it makes sense for that area. It's surrounded by other buildings just like that. And so I am going to support this. So I'm going to make a motion. I would make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 21-1013 once by title only.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on dispensing with the rules?
Just for Gabrielle, this is to dispense with the rule. This is not to approve it. This is a procedural thing. FYI.
Thank you for clarifying that. Roll call, please.
How about I read the title once?
There you go.
first?
Why don't you read the title, Renata?
Council Bill number 21-2013, an ordinance amending the zoning act of the city of Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County, Idaho, known as ordinance number 1691. Ordinances of the city of Coeur d'Alene by changing the zoning of the following described property from R12 to R17. Said property being described as follows, to wit, a plus or minus .346 acre parcel located at 3135 North Fruitland Lane, also known as a portion of Tract 43 of Fruitland's addition to Coeur d'Alene, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, provide for the publication of a summary of this ordinance and an effective date hereof.
And Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, that's Tract 42 or is it Tract 43?
It is Tract 42, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Yep.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried. And in the second part,
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt Council Bill number 21-103.
Second.
motion and a second. Discussion, Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to not approve this for many of the reasons that Gabrielle mentioned. You know, this is where we all talk about growth, but the votes are what you should pay attention to. And I know just adding one more unit or whatever it was Gordon said, everyone, it's a minor thing, everyone thinks it's a minor thing. They do have rights. They have rights right now to build on it. The question we have to say is, where do we draw the line? So, I'm not taking away anyone's rights. They can still build on it, and I'm sure they probably have contingency plans. But if you want to be serious about controlling growth, the votes are what you should count.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Dan, I can agree with you when we're talking about a large complex that would really truly have an effect. I don't think this is going to have a huge effect. In fact, I think it's exactly what we're looking for affordable homes. There are a lot of people that just can't even get a starter home right now. And this area is surrounded by much more affordable housing. So I don't think it's irresponsible, and you can track my vote all you want. I don't think it's irresponsible at all when it makes sense. If we were discussing a big multifamily of maybe 150 units, that's a different discussion. But we are going to have to provide affordable housing where we can, and this lot is the perfect location for that.
Any other council discussion?
I'll just
Kiki?
make a quick comment. I've been working intimately with regional housing growth issues here, and one of the issues is finding a place where people who work here can actually afford to live here. And so when we are talking about a zone change that's this small, which could put more than 2 more units in there, I think that's a responsible zone change. And I think it's the thing that we should be doing to preserve the neighborhood that it exists in, and it's probably one of the few that doesn't have a whole huge amount of conflict, so I would be supporting this one.
Dan?
And again, yeah, this isn't a huge change. Well, it's not a huge change. It's not a huge project coming in. We desperately need more housing in the affordable area. So for me, and you can track vote, I mean, it's a very easy vote for me to say, no, this is a place where it's appropriate, and looking for opportunities like this. So I support this. I'm very happy to. I hope we can find a few more around town.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call, please, Renata.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Nope.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried. Move on to our second public hearing of tonight. This is a legislative hearing. This is to hear public comments regarding a substantial amendment to the annual action plan for the use of CDBG funds for the plan year 2020 to include the funding of affordable for-sale housing and economic development activities. Chelsea, you're up again.
Okay, so here I am again. Oh, this is the last one.
Deja vu.
Deja vu. Got the wrong one. There we go. Okay. So tonight, this is just a housekeeping item, pretty much HUD requirement that we submit an amendment to our annual action plan. So we're still on the wrong
You
one.
already did this one.
Did we? I think, oh,
There it is.
there it is. It's open twice. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So, there we go. All right, so tonight, our decision point is, should City Council approve the amended CDBG 2020 Annual Action Plan to incorporate Habitat for Humanity's project for their for-sale affordable housing project and North Idaho College's economic development project, and direct staff to submit the amended plan to HUD. So the city receives an annual direct allocation of HUD Community Development Block Grant funds, and we are required to complete an annual action plan each year. We have met all public noticing and participation requirements, and the 2020 annual action plan was approved by City Council February 4th, 2020, and submitted to HUD. So per discussions with HUD, it was determined that a substantial amendment to the 2020 annual action plan is required to align funding allocations and goals for housing and economic development due to recently approved agreements with Habitat for Humanity and North Idaho College pursuant to council action on March 2nd, 2021. HUD is in support of the amendments to the 2020 AAP and is pleased that the city will be meeting our affordable housing and economic development goals that are identified in our 5-year consolidated plan. So the 2020 annual action plan has been amended and was posted on the city's website for public review and comment May 26, 2021. And our stakeholder list was notified of the amended plan and had opportunity to comment. Legal notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on May 26th, and it was posted on our website and social media as well. So HUD issued waivers 8 and 9 in 2020 in response to the pandemic that allow the public comment period to be waived and reduced to 5 days of public comment. So City Council awarded grant funds for those two projects before in March. Authorizing this item will allow staff to submit the amended 2020 annual action plan to HUD for official review. The 2020 annual action plan has been amended to include the for-sale affordable housing project in the amount of $120,000 and the economic development goal in the amount of $30,000. There's no financial change to the allocation received from HUD. So we're recommending City Council approve the submittal of the amended 2020 annual action plan to HUD for official review.
All right, council questions for Chelsea? HUD sure has a lot of requirements, don't they? All right, well, we may have a question. after a little bit, but maybe your night is done. So this is a legislative hearing which requires public comment, and I will open the public comment portion of it now. I don't have anyone on a list to give public comment. Anyone in the audience wishing to give public comment tonight? Not seeing any, I will close the public comment portion of that and look for council action. Dan?
Well, I would just disclose that in the past, I've been a director of Habitat for Humanity, but have no relationship with them currently.
Woody?
I have a couple questions. Did she go away?
She's coming right back up.
Sorry, I dozed off.
Yeah.
Can you consolidate this? I don't remember it. So we're taking some money that from the 2020 CBDG and reallocating it, or the feds gave us more to do more?
We're taking what we already have and just identifying goals for affordable housing and economic development. So we're not getting more money.
Okay.
We're just identifying the goals within the plan so that it aligns with where we're spending the money.
Okay. And when we say funding for affordable, for sale housing and economic development, what does that mean?
So in March, we had the Habitat for Humanity project that we approved.
Right.
So they're building that 20-unit land trust project.
Right.
So we've already allocated money to them.
Okay.
So we're just amending the plan to match that.
Okay.
And the economic development one was the NIC grant, the micro grant.
So the money's actually going into building something, physically doing something.
It's going to go into the planning phase of that
The
project.
planning, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll be looking for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the substantial amendment to the annual action plan for the use of Community Development Block Grant funds for the plan year 2020 to include the funding of affordable for-sale housing and economic development activities.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Who's got the last part?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Where you got to go, Dan? We could have stayed here.
I know, I wanted to. Need to talk about things.